Okay, that's what I'm supposed to say. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Shit Happens When You Party Naked. Thank you for listening, everybody. I want to say I appreciate you guys listening on today's show. My wife and I, hi, Christina.
Hi.
Hi. My wife and I are joined by our old buddy, our longtime friend, Mr. Matt Cafaro. Cafaro's a great guy I've known for a long time. I'm not sure how long. I better ask him how long we have known each other. It feels like a long time now.
It does seem like a long time.
It'd be a good question for old Cafaro. But I have not really had an opportunity on this podcast to talk a lot about my love of movies. I mean, I know we talked probably too much about Snakes on a Plane last week. That was pretty awesome, particularly since you've never seen that film. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I mean, that was riveting for you, probably for most listeners as well.
And I can't wait to watch it.
I know. I can't believe we haven't watched it yet. We're going to watch that soon, though. That'll be fun. But having Cafaro on the show is very exciting because I'm going to get to really kind of dive into some movie talk. I mean, we can really get into it. And really start talking about it. So he's going to call in a few minutes, and we'll get started when he's on the line. But, in the meantime, I do also want to let everybody know that I sliced off the tip of my finger last night when I was cleaning a mandolin, those little slicers. I was going to julienne a potato. And
spiralizer.
Spiralizer, yeah, but it has the blade that's set in the piece of plastic, and I was wiping that down in preparation to use it, and just going too fast and just totally diced the tip of my finger off. My right index finger, I'm right-handed. This is my finger, man.
And true to male fashion, you would have thought he was dying.
I almost was. There was so much blood. And on top of that,
Didn't need any stitches, though.
Well, what are they going to stitch the tip of your finger up? I mean,
they gave us kind of stitches.
For your fingertip, though? Mm-hmm. I would think
if you actually had a really deep cut.
Yeah, if the cut was it goes really in. Deep cut. But if you just shave the top off, there's nothing. Can they really sew that up?
They probably wouldn't do that.
Yeah, because that's really, you have to imagine Paulie in Goodfellas, the way he slices the garlic in the prison scene where he just shaves it real thin. That's kind of what I did to the tip of my finger, just took the little top layer off. And if you haven't seen Goodfellas, then you've got more problems than I do. But I'm telling you, losing the use of your right index finger is terrible. I had such a hard time jacking off with my left hand last night. It was awful. It was like being 13 again. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm it was fucking terrible.
Terrible.
Can't wait till this thing gets back up to speed. I mean, this is the finger I use to clack on the keyboard, to push a button, to the elevator at work, ding ding, and then the mouse. I must have clicked the mouse 500 times today. It was terrible. It was hurting all day at work. It was terrible.
It's terrible.
The shit I go through, right?
Yeah.
But we're not going to make the podcast late over it. It's not like I'm taking a day off or anything. Fuck that.
Fuck that.
Oh. Well, I think Matt is here, so let's go ahead and let's get cracking with Matt and some movie talk, and we'll holler at you guys at the end, I guess. All right, welcome to the show, Matt. Man, I'm glad to finally have you on.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, super glad to have you. I think my first question for you is, how fucking long have we been friends now? It's been a while. Was it 2006?
Yeah, it's almost 12 years. So I think, yeah, it's been a while.
It's like time flies, man. It doesn't feel like it's been 12 years, but
no, not really.
You're like one of my oldest friends now. Like it's kind of weird. I don't have a lot that are older than you that have been around longer than you. I guess I just piss everybody off.
You're
before
his
12
old
years.
friend.
I am both his old friend and his old friend. So it works two ways.
I know. Weren't you just saying that you're about to turn 40?
I thought he said 45.
Okay, 38. Yeah. That makes me feel a lot better about just where I'm at in general in life.
Yeah, you're only a year younger than me, so
Yeah. Well, geez, fuck.
I guess I'm the old lady. I'm already 38.
Oh
I'm
my
going to be
gosh.
39.
I'm the youngest person in this room right now. Fuck yeah.
Wow. So you're actually born in the 70s.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
Christina was born in the 70s.
Born in
yeah.
the 70s.
Do you know every time I go to Walgreens or CVS or wherever, and I'm getting our prescriptions, and they're like asking me for my date, I'm like 81, and then I ask for my wife's date, I'm like 79. Yeah.
I
don't think
an
they
older
think it.
woman.
No.
It's going to be hitting up that AARP discount pretty soon.
No shit, right?
I'm excited for any discount.
No. Maybe the
Take
movie
it.
tickets will finally get fucking cheaper. We're about to talk about that in a minute.
There you go.
Jesus. Finally get that senior discount that we've been waiting for so long. So what did we met at a party or some shit? Well, the first time we ever talked.
I mean, we talked a little bit when we worked at Dial America together in Athens, but I think the first time we ever
that was a great job.
I wouldn't go that far, but it was a job.
Serious.
That was a job. No. So, one of the guys at Dial was throwing like a house party. Usually Athens is kind of weird. It's not like a lot of colleges. There's not a lot of house parties, because downtown is such a great place. But one of the guys was having like a kegger, and they showed up, and you were there, and we started talking about movies and whatever other bullshit, playing beer pong. And since then, I could probably say you are my best friend, pretty much. So, it sounds really sad
BFF.
when I say it, but
Oh. No, it sounds sweet. It makes me wish I could give you a hug from so many miles away.
You guys should get those necklaces where it's like you split up the heart.
Yeah.
And you guys can each have a half.
That's a solid Christmas gift idea. I'm writing that down.
Present.
I see a Christmas gift coming up.
be like little orphan Annie and her
Excellent.
non-existent parents.
Oh. Yeah, so it was because we both love movies that we initially clicked, right? I mean,
Sounded like you said boobies.
boobies?
You said
Well, I
movies.
mean,
I said movies, yeah.
Sounded like
Movies,
boobies.
Who doesn't love boobies?
What about movies with boobies?
Movies with
I love
boobies are the best.
movies with boobies.
I'm trying to think.
I mean, I think the 80s. I think the 80s built an entire slasher genre around movies with boobies.
Oh, you don't even need to go that far, man. It's like the very first movies with boobies that I remember is not even a rated R movie. It's the Beastmaster. Remember when Tanya Roberts was under the waterfall swimming with her friend and they were both topless? It's fantastic. I might have been two. I might have been two or three, but I realized at that point I was definitely hetero. There was no gay gene in me.
Let's say you were 3 years old and you were watching that scene from the Beastmaster, as many of us did when we were young. And
I didn't.
You didn't? Well, we talked about how we need to fix you on the Beastmaster. We'll get you corrected.
It sounds familiar.
We
I
talked
think
about it. Yeah, we talked about it last time. Every time me and Matt talk, we get around to the Beastmaster. At some point, the Beastmaster's coming up for sure.
We just need to watch it.
So-
Apparently, it's a big deal.
Would you say, though, that at 3, I mean, you're not very developed sexually at all. There's no puberty. There's no adult testosterone or teenage testosterone going. Do you think that at 3, seeing the titty, that it's like a primal, almost like mammalian thing? Like, I need to suckle that. Like, I need to put my mouth on that titty because I need to.
I don't think it's that, but I think, you can see something and like it, or maybe like wonder why that you like looking at it, right? So.
Yeah, but would that be almost like your primal instinct telling you like that's where the food comes from? You like that? Like, I mean, I have a hypothesis that like titty sucking or boob suckling, like I think, guys like boobs for sure, but I think almost everybody likes boobs, and it's because that's where the life comes from, and it almost goes back to like pre-human species, like mammals drink milk from the mom. So I just have a hypothesis that says that sucking a titty is basically one of the most natural things you could ever do. And we're all kind of drawn to that activity on a very base subconscious level.
Makes me feel pretty proud of my titties.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing though.
I think maybe you're overthinking it a little bit.
Maybe I did.
At that point, I think I'd been, at that point, I'd probably been on solid food for a while. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, I'm 36. I've been on solid food since, I don't know. I was at least 17 when I stopped drinking my mother's breast milk. So you got to think, like half my life I've been weaned off the tit. I still think it's kind of like a natural thing, that you just see that and you're just like,
The way to test it is how do gay guys feel about it?
Good question.
They might,
or how do heterosexual women?
debunk the whole thing.
Well, I mean, it's like you know what is supremely not fair is girls always let gay guys touch their tits, and it's like no big deal. But like if I were to go down and touch a girl's tit without knowing her very well, that wouldn't go well for me. So
you should say you're gay.
Well, if I was gay, I'd probably have more sex in my life. I would definitely be an attractive bear for some twink out there.
Some little man that you could just throw over your shoulder and take to the bedroom.
Oh yeah, somebody who would need to be a submissive bottom for sure.
Oh God, that mental image. I'm taking my pants off. So you became a lover of film at an early age, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, with like referencing the Beastmaster, my grandparents were pretty well off in the early 80s. And back when VCRs cost, $400 or $500, which in today's money is what, $1,500 or $2,000. So, they had a VCR and all these great movies that really started coming out on VHS around that time.
Yeah.
I mean, Beastmaster, definitely, of course, but, Star Wars and, Rocky, stuff like that. And I just remember, living with my grandparents for a couple of months before we moved down to Georgia and watching movies all the time. And then when we got down here and my parents wound up divorcing a couple of years later, anytime my dad had us on the weekends, it was, usually we would go see a movie. I can remember in the summer of 85 when I was 5, I must have had him take me and my brother to go see Back to the Future 4 or 5 times that summer. That was,
damn,
and that, it's like, and you definitely, we vibe on certain things. And one of those things is like, if I love a movie, there's no limit to the number of times that I can watch it. Right. And it's Indeed. But there are some people who don't do that at all. Like my mother, I hardly have anything in common with her. And one of the things she always would ask me is like, why are you watching that movie? You've already seen it. So,
Christina, our own Christina here was similar. She said, why do you own all those movies and why buy a movie? Because once you've seen it once, are you going to want to watch it again? And I've proven to her that since we've been married, I've watched Big Trouble in Little China 537 times. There's an upper tier. There's an echelon of films that are at the very top of your list that, like you said, there's no end to the number of times that you can watch them. You can watch them over and over and over. I don't give a fuck. There probably was a summer when I was, 7 or something, where I recorded Big Trouble in Little China off of the television station or whatever at the time. And I had a VHS copy that I'd recorded. And I shit you not, I probably watched that daily for an entire summer when I was a youngster because I didn't have shit else better to do. So why not watch Big Trouble in Little China 400 times that summer? And I think I probably did. So there's those movies that you could just watch over and over again. You just pop them in and you're just like, fuck yeah. Almost like a time capsule for your feelings because you watch it again and you can almost feel like, yeah, I remember watching this when I was a kid and that was pretty awesome. And then they go shit on it like
right. Yeah.
Hollywood invariably has to spread their butt cheeks and shit all over the things that you love because, they're making all these new Star Wars movies. I have a feeling that you and I are kind of copacetic on our opinions on those newer Star Wars movies, probably better that they didn't make those. I'd like to go back to a world where only episodes 4, 5, and 6 exist. But I mean, even The Rock is talking about remaking Big Trouble in Little China. I love The Rock, but what the fuck are you thinking, Dwayne? I mean, look, what the fuck are you doing? Just leave it alone.
I don't think he's a very skilled actor.
I'm not saying he's like a skilled Shakespearean. He's not winning any Academy Awards. But look, he's charismatic. He's funny. He does a good job. He works hard. He turns out a lot of movies.
A strong word.
No, I disagree because you look at like what The Rock is able to do, the kinds of movies that he's been in. I mean, just his general range. And let's be honest. I mean, he's got more range than Arnold does. I would say he's got as much range. In the right role, I could see The Rock winning an Oscar. I mean, come on. Sylvester Stallone has come close to winning an Oscar twice in his life. So think about that.
But Sylvester Stallone, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Sylvester Stallone is, I mean, he's, writer, director. I mean, it seems like, yeah, sure, he's no hippy dippy artist, but it seems like he's doing a little bit more artistically than The Rock, where I think The Rock's entertaining, but
I think he's entertaining. I just think he's typecasted. If I'm going to see a movie with The Rock in it, it's going to be the same character. So I feel like that, to me, is minimal. You have like one skill set. You go after one movie. I assume maybe that's similar to your personality. So it doesn't feel like a big...
You feel like he's essentially playing himself.
Because he's always kind of goofy in a comedy.
Yeah. No, and I can see that. That's a definite. I don't really see that much as a criticism because, I mean, if you think about it, back in the day, that's kind of what actors were, right? You didn't really go to see, it's probably really Marlon Brando, maybe probably Olivier before him, who really changed that, where it was about, great acting in the role and becoming somebody else. Whereas before that, you had John Wayne. John Wayne doesn't have a lot of range. You had,
No.
It's like think about that. Think about like you had Shirley Temple. Think about the kinds of actors that came out of the 30s and the 40s when sound was introduced to film, and it's about the personality. It's like a cult of personality. It's not really about, is this person a great actor or not. People would go see the movies to see those people be themselves. So in that way, I agree with you, and in that way, The Rock is a lot like Arnold Schwarzenegger because his personality is magnetic and people want to see him in the movies. But I still think he has a little bit of range. He can do comedy. He can do action. He's pretty decent at drama. It's like if you've ever watched – you need to watch Ballers. He's really good in there. I think he stretches himself a little bit.
I heard Ballers is great.
It really is.
I need to check that out.
I haven't seen that.
I need to show Christina Pain and Gain as well because there's he's pretty hilarious in that movie.
Yeah, that's – well, I mean, it's amazing. Michael Bay makes well, at least the last three have been really shitty, but these shitty Transformers movies, when the last two have been shitty. I think. Did
you see the most recent one?
Yeah, the last night wasn't any good. It was pretty bad.
The last night, yeah, it looked so bad, and the one before that. I don't even remember there have been so many that I don't even remember the subtitle anymore. But the first one with Mark Wahlberg, I watched that. I think I rented it and watched it online or some shit, and it was so fucking terrible. I was like, Jesus Christ.
It was bad. That was the one before this last one.
Yeah, it was so bad.
So he's done with two with Wahlberg, and they were both pretty bad.
Oh, so bad.
I actually think the writer's strike really screwed the second one in the original quote unquote trilogy. But like the first and the third one, eminently watchable films, man.
Yeah, I thought the first and the third
popcorn movies.
I thought the first one especially too because there was the novelty of the thing. It's this 80s cartoon that was so popular that's being kind of dusted off and brought back. Like I said, Hollywood just brings everything back so they can shit on it. Even if they didn't shit on it the first time, they definitely shit on it for the second one. That movie was terrible, but yeah. I would agree that maybe our threshold for Transformers, like our tolerance of Transformers has been met a little bit and maybe even exceeded because I think the first one was good, but I think maybe it's like you can get away with a little bit, but maybe you're pushing it after a little while and then maybe you do finally wear out your welcome and you just say, okay, fuck off with the fucking Transformers, you asshole. Get the fuck out of here. These fucking movies are terrible and I let you get away with one, but fucking A, 5 of these, fucking 6 of these things, however many you made now, what the fuck?
Yeah, and the next kind of guy in line after The Rock is actually going to be in the next one. John Cena is going to be in the movie set in the 80s about Bumblebee. So that's going to be we'll see what that's like. It's not. I don't believe it was directed by Michael Bay, so it might be something a little bit different, more in line with the first film, because the first film it was like the structure of the movie was really about and they talked about this a lot before it came out. It was trying to find that human element. It was about a boy getting his first car, right? It's like which half the population completely understands what that's like. So and in the subsequent movies really kind of got away from the human element, and that's kind of when it all became about
there was like a certain chemistry with the Witwickies, the Shia LaBeouf character and his dad and his mom. They were all a little kooky, and they had this weird sort of rapport with each other. And then the other supporting characters, like wasn't Bernie Mac the car salesman that sells him Bumblebee at the beginning?
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace, Bernie Mac. But I mean, like he makes for a pretty great supporting character. And I do think they did kind of get away from that a little bit, where it's like, all right, well, I love Mark Wahlberg. I'm not gonna say I don't enjoy the shit out of Mark Wahlberg films, but
which I just want to say, I feel like his movies have kind of taken a little bit of a nosedive.
You think he's taken a downturn as well?
Yeah.
Didn't we watch Patriots Day somewhat recently, though?
I don't.
Patriots Day was great.
Patriots Day was awesome.
That's actually
I don't remember that.
We
one.
did.
yeah, that's a Peter Berg movie.
Yeah,
and
it
you
is.
want to talk about an underrated director? Other than Battleship, which is complete crap, I can't really name a bad Peter Berg film. I mean, he started. It's like I'm trying to remember. I think the very first thing I remember him directing, I think he did like a Christian Slater movie back in the 90s, but
Gleaming the Cube.
Christian Slater.
no,
Pump Up the Volume.
no. I can look on Wikipedia, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But the one I remember is actually the first movie I saw with The Rock, where I thought he could actually have a career, with The Rundown, which is fantastic.
Oh,
That-
okay.
that is
I
a
haven't seen
great
that all the way through.
Oh man, with
I've only-
Christopher Walken and
Yeah, I've only caught bits and pieces on TV, but
Love Christopher Walken.
remember, Christina, we saw Patriots Day. That was about the Boston Marathon bombing, and it was about the brothers, and Mark Wahlberg was one of the cops that was there. That movie fired us the fuck up, though. I was like, holy shit, I felt so fucking...
Barely remember it.
I fucking went out and got all my red, white, and blue clothing and put it on. I shot firecrackers out of my ass. I was like, it was the 4th of July. I'm fucking America, baby.
right. Well, also, I mean, like so that's his third movie actually with Wahlberg. You need to watch, if you haven't seen them, Lone Survivor,
Deepwater Horizon.
Deepwater Horizon, all great films as well. And he's also responsible for the film version of Friday Night Lights and the TV version, which to me is one of the greatest television shows of the last 20 years, and he's directly responsible for that.
I have never seen the show. I saw...
You got to see Friday Night Lights, man. Clear eyes, full hearts can't lose. Come on.
Yeah, I saw the film, but I never saw the television show.
Yeah, get on that, buddy.
Since we're talking about typecasting, y'all might not have a big opinion about this, but how about Julia Roberts? I feel like she's a superstar, but I have similar feelings about her.
I mean, yeah, I think, it's not like she's out there really trying to extend a range so much, right? I
don't think so either.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Sandra Bullock is another one. I don't really think they're out there really stretching acting muscles. You know, it's not like, it's kind of trying to think like some really great actors that nobody really talk about, right? Like David Strathairn, right? This guy's a great actor who's been in so many good movies, and usually he's like one of those quote unquote that guys. It's like you see him in the movie and you're like, oh, it's that guy. That guy's a good actor, and he's in so many.
That dude.
Yeah.
I like that guy.
Yeah, you like that guy, and he was in what was that movie?
like that guy.
The Clooney movie, Good Night and Good Luck, playing Edward R. Murrow. And I think if the Oscars were actually about the best actor in a year, like he should have won the best actor Oscar because he was fantastic.
Speaking of best actor, and Christina mentioned Julia Roberts, I kind of feel like
to know how y'all felt.
back in the day when she was right about to win the award for Erin Brockovich, I feel like she was really kind of campaigning pretty hard. She was busting her ass to try to win that Academy Award, but I feel like maybe after that, it hasn't been so much. Like what you were saying the last several years, I don't really feel like she's done a whole lot that's gotten a whole lot of attention where it's like, oh, holy fuck, like, look at Julia Roberts. Feels like more of the same.
Right. Well, I mean, she can do a lot of things. I mean, it's like weird. It's like she doesn't stretch, but like within her area, I mean, she can still, she can inhabit a character pretty well. I mean, she's, when she cries on screen, it seems believable. I think, she has some range, but yeah, it hasn't been a whole lot. Probably, I mean, the last movie that I really remember her in that I actually sat down to watch was probably the last.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
No, the second Ocean's movie, because she wasn't in the last one. No, like Charlie Wilson's War. She was in that. I think she was really good in that. But yeah, that's maybe in Charlie Wilson's War. That movie's almost that might actually be over 10 years old. That was a long time ago.
Was it? That feels recent.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm old.
I
So
don't even know that movie. I think if an actor or actress is going to like really catch my attention or whatever, I think I'm looking for somebody who, and maybe I like dramas a little bit more, but that they seem like they're in a role that's unlike themselves. Like it's an interesting role and it's different from movie to movie. Like I don't want to see them as the same character.
Right.
If I see two movies, okay, it's like, okay, that was kind of similar. But then if it's the same role every movie, then it just is like.
So you're saying that when The Rock beats up too many people in a row, it's like, okay, you're the dude who
beats like
people up in the movie.
You're just an action movie. So I don't know. I just get a little less interested in them as an actor. But I just want to say I did appreciate your perspective on seeing them as like their personality and them as a person. Like I haven't thought of it that way. But
yeah, because think about it. I get what you're saying. Like The Rock he's setting the world on fire with his acting chops, but at the same time, does he ever not entertain you? Does he ever disappoint? Mm-hmm. It's like he goes and makes a movie. Even like a shitty movie like Baywatch, it still made some money. People went to go see it because The Rock was in it, right? I think, it's like it's interesting how that works, where it's like you have people winning Oscars like Mark Rylance, who nobody remembers from anything. Talking about a guy who was in Ready Player One, but at the end of the day, it's like I think we're kind of, it's after Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bruce Willis got old, and people weren't really seeing their movies anymore. The big question was who's going to be the next big personality? And I think it's The Rock. Yeah. The Rock is the guy who stepped in.
For sure.
Not only does he step in, but sometimes he makes the movies better. Like the Fast and the Furious franchise really wasn't going anywhere, and then he came back in and suddenly, revitalizes that whole franchise, which has become a multi-billion-dollar franchise. Really, if you think about it, that entire franchise, ignores every rule of Hollywood, in that each successive movie makes more than the one that came before.
That's true,
and that never happens. Usually, you have the diminishing returns, where it's like whatever movies it is, and then then you have the next all the subsequent movies make less money after it.
It did feel very much like he revitalized the Fast and the Furious films for sure.
Oh yeah. Him and Justin. I think it was a combination of him and Justin Lin taking over as like the director, because he directed the fourth one, the last one without The Rock, and then he directed 5 and 6 after that. And I think, it's like they're dumb movies, but I will totally sit down and watch 5, which is a great heist movie, and then 6 with that runway that goes on for 100,000 miles at the end of the movie. I don't care. That's great. I'll sit and watch a well-executed action set piece any day of the week.
While I completely agree, I also have to say that I am like woefully behind on the Fast and Furious films. I've seen 2 of them, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's like 9 of them, right?
8.
Well, I was close.
They're going to make a 9th, and I honestly don't know where they can go from here. I think they had to go into outer space, but they're also talking about, because of the lame-ass Vin Diesel, Dwayne Johnson, Tiff rivalry that is going on right now, because Vin doesn't like The Rock stealing all of his luster. That they're actually going to spin off Jason Statham's character and The Rock's character and put them into their own movie.
That's what I heard. Yeah, and Tyrese doesn't like that either, does he?
Tyrese,
that was pissing off Tyrese, because he's like, Tyrese is not going to get his own spinoff for a little while.
Well, nobody wants to see Tyrese in a movie. Come on. He's good, but Tyrese is Tyrese. He's not The Rock. The Rock is fronting billion-dollar movies. Tyrese is he's the comic relief.
True that.
That's why that's why he shouldn't be Green Lantern in whatever next DC movie comes out or whatever. Even though he's campaigning to be Jon Stewart, I don't think I wouldn't really care to see that.
Oh, I had no idea about that.
Yeah, it was like a thing the last couple of years. Like some fans have been putting together some lame fan art with him looking like Green Lantern, and he's actually campaigned a little bit for the role, but we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to be him. Like, my choice would have been Michael B. Jordan, but he joined the Marvel universe, even though his character is dead. Spoiler alert. Generally they don't do much crossover there.
No, they really don't. Although there's a little bit of that happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, J.K. Simmons, right? He was J. Jonah Jameson and Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
So.
And you mentioned Ready Player One. I suppose we should probably talk about it at least briefly. This was ostensibly going to be a Ready Player One review that we were both going to talk about it a little bit more in depth, but time has passed since our first botched attempt at this digital interview. So we kind of got fucked on the first one, and now Ready Player One is it's a week old by the time everyone hears this. So we should probably touch on it, but maybe not waste too much time on it, because I have a feeling that the people who were wicked excited about Ready Player One have probably already seen Ready Player One, right? There might be a few people on the fence who hear this who think, okay, well, maybe I'll make my decision based on what these two assholes say. But so were you a massive Spielberg fan prior to going to see Ready Player One? Sort of a Spielberg fan, not a Spielberg fan at all? Kind of where'd you fall on Spielberg?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a big Spielberg fan. Mostly, I mean, to be honest, I really haven't been keeping up the last few years. Like, I didn't go see War Horse. I didn't see Tintin. I didn't see the BFG. I just, didn't really seem like they were made with me in mind. But
yeah, you're not the demographic.
Yeah, I mean, Spielberg, I mean, he wrote my childhood, man. And if it wasn't his directing, it was his producing, because he produced Back to the Future, he produced The Goonies. So, I mean, Spielberg heavily involved in my childhood, heavily involved in my life for at least the first 30 years. I don't think I missed a Spielberg movie premiere for the first 30 years of my life or so.
For sure. So, like, the nostalgia factor is there. And I mean, we're practically the same age as established earlier. So I had a similar experience growing up watching his films. Even in the 90s, I mean, I remember going to see Jurassic Park when it opened, and the fucking thing was huge. I mean, it seemed like a very, very big deal at the time. So with our own nostalgia factor surrounding Spielberg, do you feel like that maybe he made Ready Player One as a, I don't know if as a, I guess, kind of a nostalgic for his own heyday, or trying to get back to his maybe classic self? Or did you feel like it was a throwback to his earlier films, or or just kind of maybe more like a money-making device because Spielberg fans are kind of our age and have similar nostalgic feelings about the same shit that's involved in Ready Player One?
Right. No, I mean, I think we know. I mean, he actually wouldn't allow the set dressers and the people creating the scene to put in Easter eggs from his own movies. Right. Like he would spot certain things and, tell them to get rid of them. So I don't think he made this movie with any kind of idea of trying to recapture a former like 80s glory or for any sense of his own nostalgia. I don't think Spielberg has a nostalgia bone in his body, which I think actually makes him a pretty good director. But I think, I think it's just a concept of what it's able to do, and kind of what he did in Tintin, maybe, even though I didn't see the movie. Like, I know, like, the motion capture and the things like that. I think that kind of stuff appealed to him, and, being able to create this world, obviously, sparked something within him, because let's be honest. I mean, if somebody of Spielberg's caliber, he picks and chooses his projects. So, something about the story sparked with him. And I think, he just felt a connection to it, like a lot of people have who've read Klein's book, and, he wanted to make the movie. And I think, he made a pretty good movie. It's definitely not my favorite Spielberg movie. It's probably doesn't even make the top 10, maybe not even the top 15 or 20, but it's a well-made film. It's a lot of fun in a lot of places. It's a good popcorn movie. I would say as far as like the kind of nostalgia that it brings out of me, it's less nostalgia for like Spielberg's movies or maybe even movies he was involved in, like Back to the Future or The Goonies, and it actually made me feel a little bit more wistful for that next level of movies from the 80s that I know we all loved as kids, like that weren't like the critically praised movies but maybe became like cult movies later on down the line. Stuff like, the Ethan Hawke River Phoenix movie Explorers. Like I kind of got a definite vibe, like a Joe Dante Explorers vibe off of it, stuff like that, or
Yeah.
Gremlins, or
Gremlins is great.
Monster Squad. You kind of get it does. Ready Player One almost feels a little bit like a B movie to me. Like it doesn't take itself so seriously, and it's just a fun movie.
Yeah. So after all of that, I feel like I've got a lot to say. There were a lot of threads in what you just said that I'm like, oh fuck, I got to say something about that. I got to say something about that. And I'm like, fuck. So full disclosure, I didn't read the book. You mentioned people who love the Klein's book. I don't think that it matters much. I didn't read the book, but B, I also noticed watching the film, I was almost hyper aware because knowing Spielberg directed it and knowing that Spielberg's career spans way back. I was almost hyper aware of his past and looking for callbacks, Easter eggs, cameos, whatever of his own iconic characters. Like I kept waiting for E.T. to show up. I was looking around every corner. Every time there was a shelf, I was looking for like a E.T. doll on a shelf or something. And so I kept my eyes open for it. But I honestly didn't feel very nostalgic during the film at all. Actually, I mean, there were some callbacks to some stuff. Probably the biggest nostalgia bait for me was the DeLorean, was the Back to the Future films. Other than that, it didn't evoke a lot of that for me. So
yeah, I mean, it was more about like the music. I think the music definitely, opening up with Van Halen's "Jump," I think was fantastic.
Yeah,
I just think that's just a quintessential '80s song, man. You had, the synthesizers and David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen shredding on the guitar. It's just a great pump you up kind of a song, and just a really I kind of wished, to be honest, that the sound mix was a little louder. Like when it came on in the theater, it just seemed like it was kind of on like a medium volume. I felt it should have been louder because I wanted it to really pump me up. It's like sometimes people don't realize that, how a movie's sound is mixed can really affect, what you're feeling from moment to moment. Like I can remember, and this is going off on a completely different tangent, but parts of Justice League at the end when they were fighting in Russia against Steppenwolf and the Parademons, the sound mix sucked. It was really bad, and like the special effects were much louder than the ambient sound and like the musical score. So there are certain parts of that movie where Danny Elfman calls back to his 1989 Batman theme.
Yeah, he scored Batman too.
Yeah, it's totally drowned out by the special effects sound mix. And it's like, why would you have this big moment where Batman, slams the Batmobile out of the flying fox and he goes to attack the parademons, and like if you turn it up on your TV at home, you can hear the big brassy 1989 Batman theme, but it's still underneath a layer of explosions and grinding metal, and sound mixing is very important. And I think it was just a moment there right at the beginning where, man, you just got to make that louder, because it kind of came across the speakers in my theater is almost soft. And it should have been those synthesizers for Jump should have just been like, loud, and it should have gotten you up out of your seat.
Yeah, I didn't have the same experience. I mean, my theater may have been, wired a little different for sound, but I will agree with you that the sound mixing is extremely important. Probably more so because it does kind of operate on a subconscious level for a lot of folks. Like, I don't think most film goers consider the the sound levels of things, of music, of sound effects, of dialogue and stuff is really, they don't. It's not something that's like very forward in a film. It's more the type of thing that occurs kind of in the background or behind the visuals. But it's almost more important because it operates on this level that people aren't always totally conscious of.
Right.
I think more disclosure, if I can be, more just in the interest of full disclosure. I haven't seen Justice League yet either. So I'm just throwing that out there. Still haven't seen Justice League.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. It's nothing. I mean, it got a lot of shit, and I think a lot of it was undeserved.
Okay.
It's kind of like Man of Steel, and you and I have had many conversations of how much I regard that film. But I mean, it's like, and then on the other hand, I completely loathed Batman versus Superman because, Man of Steel, it was a story that started off in if not a dark place, then a place of, deep introspection, and then brought us into a hopeful place by the end. And then Batman versus Superman just completely did away with it, almost like it ignored the hopeful ending to Man of Steel, and it was something that I think it was a mistake. Like, and I'm somebody who actually generally likes Zack Snyder's films. I think his remake of Dawn of the Dead is fantastic, and to be honest, I actually prefer it.
Yeah,
I prefer it to the original. And I understand what he was.
I think I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I understand what he was trying to do with Sucker Punch. I think it's brilliant from an artistic standpoint. You want to talk about a movie that is well shot and well conceived from like, I can just imagine how detailed those storyboards must have been for him to be able to put all that on screen. And then, you have 300 and Watchmen, which I think is still to this day a top 5 superhero movie. I think it's fantastic. So, I'm not.
I need to rewatch Watchmen. I've also never seen Sucker Punch, although it looked good. But I do need to rewatch Watchmen. That is one of my favorite graphic novels, and I do remember liking the film, enjoying the film, but kind of missing the Black Pearl segments when I saw it in the theatrical release. And now I understand they did release a version on Blu-ray that has those Black Pearl segments kind of recut in. And I would like to watch it kind of maybe more following that pacing of the graphic novel with those Black Pearl segments reinserted. Black Pearl, is that the right thing that I'm thinking of? Or is that fucking Johnny Depp?
Well, I think
is that
I think Black Pearl is from the Pirates of the Caribbean, but
Pirates of the Caribbean. Fuck.
I think I know what you mean. It's black something. It's not like Black Sails. I can't remember.
But it's got to be black something. I mean, Pirates.
Yeah.
It's always black something, and it's like they had that pirate story that was interspersed in there. It was like the comic within the comic, and I think it did something pretty good for the pacing there. But I
mean, I've seen it both ways. I actually have the ultimate cut, which reincorporates the Tales of the Black Freighter is what it's called.
Black Freighter, shit.
Right. And it's like he
Black
actually,
Pearl.
he reached back into his acting company and got Gerard Butler to do the narrator.
Oh, that's badass.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, actually, to be honest with you, I think it works better as a short film. And I think because Watchmen in and of itself is already a pretty long movie, that when you go ahead and combine it with the Tales of the Black Freighter, it's almost too long. It's almost 4 hours long. So
I'm with you there. I feel like my patience for really, really long movies has waned as I've gotten a little older. I just, a movie's 3 hours, 3.5 hours. I'm like, fuck off. Do a miniseries on HBO. Let me watch 10 episodes and I can take a nap in between every fucking episode. I'm getting old here. I can't fucking watch some 4-hour movie. I went to the fucking Return of the King, the midnight release back when they do like midnight on Thursday night because it was technically Friday.
Yep.
I remember going to see Return of the King at midnight on fucking Thursday night. I swear to God, the sun was coming up when I went home from that fucking movie. And I was like, I was cool with that. Now I'm like, fuck that. So how would you rate Justice League compared to Ready Player One? Which one is a little bit better, you think?
Ready Player One. I mean, Ready Player One is a better movie.
Okay.
Justice League is it's a little bit of a mess. The CGI looks unfinished, especially in regards to Steppenwolf. And in some cases, with regards to Cyborg, even though he looks pretty okay. And then, of course, the whole thing with Henry Cavill's mustache and Paramount not letting them shave his mustache for the reshoots because he had it in Mission Impossible in the Mission Impossible movie. And it looks, I mean, I will say this. Justice League got a lot of shit from critics, mainly this whole new thing that happens where they all pile on with the same talking points and it's all a bunch of groupthink nonsense and nobody actually talks about the movie. They just talk about whatever, ideology or whatever it happens to be that they hated about the movie, and it has nothing to actually do with the movie at all. But I mean, they were right about the mustache. It was horrendous, and it definitely takes you out of the movie. But it's like, go Redbox it. It's a fun movie. It's pretty. And I will say that in and of itself makes it disappointing. Like, it should be better than that. I know, Man of Steel is a little controversial, but 3/4 of the people who saw Man of Steel really liked it. So
yeah, I liked it as well. I'm in that 3/4 that liked Man of Steel. I agree with you in saying that it started off, if not dark, more introspective, more like, where he was at the beginning versus where he was at the end. It was a place of hope. I do kind of agree with you. And I almost think that when you pick up with Batman versus Superman, that it's almost like Zack Snyder didn't really, it almost shows like, okay, he didn't really mean to do that with Man of Steel, did he? Because he kind of shit all over his own point when he opens up with Batman versus Superman. But I was thinking about the DC stuff today, actually this morning, and I was thinking I wanted to ask you how you felt about the DC extended universe, particularly in the context of what Marvel's done over the last decade. And it feels to me like DC is there. It's a little cloying and almost desperate. They feel like that, like when we started hitting 30-ish and, all the girls that we know are getting married and having kids. And then there's like that one single girl that's like, oh, fuck, all my friends are getting married and having kids and shit. I need to like coerce this douchebag I'm dating into fucking proposing to me by, like I'm going to lean on this motherfucker till he proposes. I need to get married because everyone else is getting married. And then I need to spit out some kids because everyone else is spitting out kids. It almost feels like Marvel built their thing a little bit more organically and sort of took their time, whereas DC kind of thinks, oh shit, we're in 12th place. We need to fucking hurry up. We need to put this thing on like we need to put the pedal to the metal on this. Holy fuck. Where it's almost like that cloying kind of feeling, like this is the chick that just feels like she needs to get married because she's the last one in her friend group to get married and have kids. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
I don't, because that's perception, mainly put out there by critics. Specifically new media critics, bloggers and who only seem to exist to shit.
So I've bought their shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of the movies haven't been good. Let's just be honest. Batman versus Superman was terrible. I think it was a huge misstep, and it set everything back. Wonder Woman was very good. Everybody, it was weird. Audiences loved Suicide Squad, and the critics hated it more than anything. Anything that DC has done. I thought, just like Justice League, I thought Suicide was a fun movie. Like it didn't have
I
to
agree.
be. It didn't have to be the second coming of Christ. It just needed to make me have. I just needed to, have a good time in a movie theater for 2.5 hours, and that's what I had watching Suicide Squad. Actually, if you look at it, if you look at the timelines, it's not rushed at all. So Man of Steel comes out in 2013, the year after. If I'm right, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it's 2013, the year after the Avengers come out, right? So the Avengers comes out in 2012. Iron Man came out in 2008. So 4 years, right? Man of Steel came out in 2013. Justice League came out in 2017. 4 years. The Avengers, before the Avengers came out, we had Iron Man, Iron Man 2, The Incredible Hulk. Well, it's actually Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, then Iron Man 2, which everybody forgets is a bad movie. Like that is Iron Man 2 is like their Batman versus Superman. It's a bad movie. It doesn't it doesn't have like, it doesn't feel like it's a fully formed movie. It feels like, oh, hey, we're just, trying to mark some time until we get to the Avengers, and that's basically all it is. So so let's see, we had Iron Man in 2008, The Incredible Hulk in 2008, Iron Man 2 in 2010, and then we had Thor in 2011 and Captain America in 2011. So that's 5 films before we get to the Avengers. The Avengers was the 6th film.
Yeah, so that almost is what makes me feel like they built things up a little bit more organically, because they made an Iron Man, then they made Iron Man 2, Captain America, Thor. They sort of like, there were several movies before. I mean, I think I agree with you on Iron Man 2. It's not as good as the others that preceded it, but it also is the first film that felt like they were setting up this. They're like we're teeing up these other movies. I think that's the major complaint with the Marvel movies lately, is that they all feel like they're just set up for something else. So it almost feels like it's a 2-hour commercial for the next Avengers film, and they're going to make like 8 2-hour commercials for Avengers 3, and then we're going to go see Avengers 3. And so they've maybe gone into the place of almost too much setup, but it still feels like with The Man of Steel, we both agree that was a good film. But I also think that was a good film because they weren't working too hard to set up their next team movie there. And that was the Batman versus Superman that we all hate. And that was the movie where it was like, okay, we got to introduce Batman, but then now Batman has to introduce Wonder Woman and the Flash and Aquaman, and we're going to shoehorn everybody and Doomsday into this film where we kill Superman at the end. It just felt like 10 different DC Comics arcs kind of squeezed into one film. And I mean, for the Doomsday film, I would have really liked to see them play that out over a little bit more time, and maybe not have to also shoehorn in 5 new, counting Cyborg, 5 new DC characters. That just, I mean, it adds to the abortion that is Batman versus Superman, I think.
I definitely agree with you there. I think, but again, just going to get back to my other point. I think it was, so we had 5 films before the Avengers. With DC, we had 4 movies before Justice League. So everybody talks about how it was rushed, and everybody talks about how it wasn't well planned. And I'll definitely give you it, the DC movies probably were not well planned at all. They probably could have done a better job had there been one voice in the building instead of many. Kind of with Marvel, their one voice is Kevin Feige, and Marvel Studios stands on its own. DC is still under Warner Brothers. It's not its own studio. And, there are a lot of different hands in that pot. And when that happens, movies can suffer. I think we've seen that through many different kinds of movies.
All right. Actually, we're going to stop it there for now. I think that's a good stopping point. I'm going to release the rest of our conversation with Matt as a bonus episode this weekend, simply because bonus episode. Yeah, bonus episode just for being alive, I guess. It's a thrill to be alive in these times where you get 2 episodes of Shit Happens When You Party Naked this week.
Can't get any better than that.
It doesn't get a whole lot better than that. So what we are going to do, though, is this conversation does go a lot longer than I thought it would, and just for the sake of keeping this thing to close to an hour and not going on for like 2 hours about movies and shit, in case you're getting fatigued, we'll come back to it. We can record another intro, and we'll put up the rest of the interview. But I think that's probably a pretty good spot to leave it where Matt had his say, and then we'll pick that back up in a couple days. So I think I'm going to release that like Friday or Saturday. So keep your eyes out for a bonus episode this week. I'll release that before we record the next episode. Hopefully this weekend I'm going to have another good buddy of mine on the show. This one, not movies, but hopefully we'll be able to chat some bodybuilding, some competitive bodybuilding, and that should be also fun too. We'll just be all over the fucking place in this show with every fucking topic imaginable. So we really appreciate you guys listening. Really appreciate everything. You guys sharing the show. Appreciate all the 5-star reviews. Please feel free to subscribe. Share with a friend. Appreciate people passing the show on.
Share with people who aren't your friends.
Share with people who aren't your friends. Although how does that work? I mean, is that kind of weird?
I don't know.
You stand on the street corner like one of those crazy preachers and just say, everybody listen to this show. Yo,
We'll take it.
I'll take whatever I can get. Shit. Mm-hmm. So we will holla at you guys this weekend. Have a good night, everybody.